Today on the table, we have a gun that I've been actually looking for a very long time. We have a Smith & Wesson Hand Ejector 2. Now this is chambered in 455 Eley, and it just takes forever to find one where the barrel hasn't been shaved down. Because normally what happened is on these old pistols, they would, and even on a lot of Webleys too, if you look at a lot of Webley pistols, they're 455 Eleys, the barrel's shaved down so they can accept 45 ACP, and then they would just use moon clips. But I was trying to find one that had not been shaved down that still is original size, and I was able to find this over the weekend. Now this is actually a 5-digit serial number. The person that had it before must have put like a smiley face sticker on the bottom, and I have not bothered to take that off yet. But you can see here the serial number is actually only 4 digits right there, so it's actually a pretty early Hand Ejector 2. We'll go over some of the history about it too. But as you can see here, it is a 6-shot, and it is chambered in, like I said, 455 Eley, which is an English round. Now it has a couple different nicknames for those rounds. They would call it either some people call it like the 455 Webley, but Webley's obviously a type of pistol, but they call it the Eley or the 455 Colt. But anyways, that's what the gun looks like. And this one is all original. It's got original grips on it. Still has the lanyard loop on the bottom. It does have its original trigger and hammer. The only thing that might be just a little bit different is if you look here, normally there's a half moon right here on the front. Someone may have cut it down to give it, maybe something more to look at. It's hard to tell if that was done or not. I have a feeling it was, based on just the way the metal looks from the difference, from the rest of the pistol. And it has quite a bit of bluing left on it still. I mean, obviously it's 100 and this gun's probably from like 1905, right in there, 1910. So, for being as old as it is, it actually still has a lot of bluing left on it, and functions, very well, for its age. And the timing is good, and the cylinder's tight, which is nice. So you can see there's basically no play in the cylinder whatsoever. But yeah, just super cool. And one of the other reasons I wanted this this is the gun from Indiana Jones. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, he carried a shortened version of this gun. And it still had these grips with this lanyard loop, but he had one where the barrel was cut down to here. It was more of like not a snub, but it was a little bit shorter. So, anyway, some history about the Hand Ejector 2. So the reason they call it the Hand Ejector is what happened was Smith & Wesson back in the day, and you may have seen on one of my other videos, they used to do a lot of top break revolvers, and back in the cowboy eras, before 1900, there were a lot of top break revolvers. So then what Smith & Wesson did to help market or, make other people familiar with is they would say that they have now a hand ejector model. So it differentiates their older revolvers from their newer revolvers, and this is obviously like 1900. So what they said was, this is a hand ejector, so you can eject the cartridges like this, versus where before you top break the revolver, and when you bend it like this, and I should show it on one of my other ones, where when you bend it, then the cartridges would just pop out from you breaking it, from the top. So that's why it's called the hand ejector. It's not anything special. That's how every revolver works, after Smith had made these like this. So that's just kind of a little history on that. So they were just trying to get away from the top break and the automatic from the top break. Now these were made from 1908 to 1915. And actually that was for the Hand Ejector 1s, and they made 15,000 of those, and they sold out completely by 1917 because obviously World War I. And then what happened was they were replaced by the Hand Ejector 2s, and these can actually be, they can take a 44 special. So is it the other caliber that they could take? They could do a 44 special or the 455 Eley. But these second models, the difference here is that they don't have the ejector shroud. So on the Hand Ejector 1s, there used to be like a shroud. You'll see them on some of the other ones if you're looking, but there's like a big piece of metal here that covers the shroud. So, so obviously when you're opening the pistol, there'll still be like a big chunk of metal here that the ejector rod actually sits in. So you'll see it here. There's a big chunk of metal here on those other ones. So that's how you differentiate between the 1s and the 2s. So if it had that, it's a 1. If it doesn't, it's a 2. And then a couple other fun things about them, though, is that actually the two big reasons why they got rid of this shroud was design and cost, or sorry, demand and cost. So what happened was that, you know, it was just more expensive to make it. And then there was also a third locking lug, and they got rid of that because it was just too precise, and people that were using it, militaries that wanted, they were concerned that, you know, it would gum up and reduce the accuracy or the reliability of it, and it was more expensive to do that because they were making them so nicely. So if you do find a Hand Ejector one, it will have the third locking lug and the shroud on it. But the reason they got rid of it, though, is because of demand and cost. So, you know, there was like I said, they got rid of it because of the dirt, and just with manufacturing, they could make them a lot faster. And then the funny thing is they could drop the cost a whole $2. So the Hand Ejector 1, when it came out, was $21, and the Hand Ejector 2 was $19. So, which is, you know, at that time, hilarious. You know, we think about that now, that's really funny, but that was probably pretty expensive back then. So, but because they could do that, they could make them much quicker. So they could, you know, manufacture these a lot faster because the demand was so high and they needed them. And then what happened too is, you know, obviously the model 1917, which is basically just this exact same pistol, and this is an end frame Smith & Wesson too, so it's an end frame size gun, just like the model 1917. And actually I could do a comparison with my model 1917 with this, and you could see the difference because the 17 is basically this barrel shaved down to take a 45 ACP. So, you know, it's pretty cool in that regards. But anyway, I just like this because I've been looking for one for super long that did not have a shaved cylinder, and because of the Indiana Jones reference, I've always wanted one. So here is the Hand Ejector 2 I found over the weekend. Let me know if you have one, and if you've ever shot it. I'm not sure where I can find 455 Eley rounds. I would assume they don't really sell them at my local stores or even at a Cabela's. It's something you'd have to order online. But let me know if you have them and have shot those rounds before too.